Michele,
Roll it.
did you ever think, young girl growing up in New York, you would be in the NBA one day?
No. And if you saw my basketball skills, you wouldn't have either. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
See, the reason I asked that question is because, and I made that statement, it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. It was at one of the NBA All-Star games, and I was when Mark Tatum became deputy commissioner. I said, Mark, I really think y'all should do a different set of NBA All-Stars. He was like, what do you mean? I said, you should do. I said, especially for young black kids. Here are these NBA All-Stars, these African Americans who don't bounce a ball. They're in the NBA. I said, because we need to change the view in the community that, okay, I can only play ball, versus the people who are accountants and lawyers, the people who are doctors, who are medical specialists, the people who are in executive roles, because now you reframe this idea of the role that we play in sports.
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, this is a game, but it's a business. And the ecosystem that surrounds this game is vast. And it includes lawyers and doctors and accountants and people in marketing and communications. And none of them, a few of them, look like us. And so one of the things that we're doing now with HBCUs, and I know this will interest you, is we want to introduce African Americans that are interested in sports to exactly what the opportunities are that have nothing to do with being able to bounce a ball. And there are tremendous opportunities if we take advantage of them. And of course, we got to open some doors. But yeah, I mean, you can be in this business and not have any ability to put a ball through a hoop.
And your career will last a lot longer than all the players, and that's sort of that thing that so when we were having that conversation, I said, because it sort of went back to when I was at Texas A&M. I remember sitting with one of the presidents. I said, y'all do a masterful job of recruiting black football players. I said, but you do a horrible job of recruiting black scholars. I said, when you're going to somebody's living room, you're talking about these are how many first round draft picks we have. I said, well, you should have a database of, here are the African Americans who have graduated from our university who are now CEOs or vice presidents of companies or different roles. I said, now all of a sudden, that young man, that young woman is going, whoa, hold up. I said, they're seeing those people. I said, that's how we have to redefine black excellence, because if we're only fed, and it's no disrespect to Steph or LeBron, but if we only see that and we don't see the other roles and positions, then we'll never believe that we can even do those things.
I mean, one of the things, I love LeBron for any number of reasons, but one of the things I particularly like about him is if you look at his inner circle, they look like him. Right, so you got Maverick that's out there. You got Rich Paul. They are not athletes. Well, Maverick will say that he had some skills, but they are. Rich is now one of the most powerful agents in our business, and he looks like LeBron. Maverick is now one of the most formidable producers in the business. So yeah, there are opportunities. We just don't know about it, and part of what we want.
You don't know. You don't know.
But you don't know. You don't know. But yeah, I mean, this ecosystem is unbelievable. Security, obviously communications, transportation. I mean,
catering. I mean, it's a business.
It's a huge business, and even here, the contracting that we do just to support the union. It took me a minute to make sure people understood that I was serious, but I said, I'm serious. they have to look like the men that are paying them, right? I mean, 95% of my bosses are African American. They support this union with their money, and their money needs to go to people who look like them.
See, that is it's one, you said, look, y'all, I'm serious. Mm-hmm. But what that actually requires, it requires somebody coming in and saying, oh, y'all thought I'm cool with status quo. Right. I mean, when we talk about this battle that we've been in, fighting for dollars for Black-owned media, mm-hmm. it's sort of the same thing. The mm-hmm. argument I go in saying, this is your black market share. So can you explain to me why this is your black market share, right. but Black-owned media is getting 0.5 or 1% of your ad dollars? Mm-hmm. No, and that's that great scene. There's a great scene from the movie Malcolm X, which I love, when Brother Johnson he was beaten by the cops, and mm-hmm. Denzel played Malcolm X, said, right. Get a doctor, and the ambulance comes, and then they take him to the hospital, and this white cop goes, all right, you came and got what you wanted, now y'all need to leave. And he goes, no, I'm not satisfied. And that to me right. has to be our thing as African American. Mm-hmm. No. Mm-hmm. I'm mm-hmm. not satisfied.
I mean, I have said to managers that who are hiring some mid-level person, and they bring me the resume, and it's somebody white, and I've said, well, how many African Americans did you interview? Well, I said, no, I didn't ask you that. I asked you, how many did you interview?
Right.
Well, none. Why not? Well, none applied. I said, did you look? What headhunter are you using? And I just refused to hire. I just said, no, unless you can demonstrate that you have looked at a diverse candidate, a diverse pool of right. candidates, I'm not accepting this hire. And go back, and you can even come back to me with someone that's white and say, look, Michele, this is the person I think is the best right. qualified, but that you don't even look.
Right, you're gonna make an effort.
Absolutely. So that's unacceptable.
Tomlin, I think he's right behind Bill Belichick in terms mm-hmm. of most consecutive years being employed. Yeah. Mike Tomlin was not on the initial list because of the Rooney Rule.
Unbelievable.
Rooney, owner of the Steelers.
Right. Tomlin
got the interview, and in the interview, they were like, yo,
amazing.
This cat's, and now he's the second longest tenured coach in the NFL.
There you go.
He doesn't get that shot mm-hmm. if you don't have that Rooney Rule. Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is like, yo, there's gonna be a Rooney Rule mm-hmm. without me calling it Rooney mm-hmm. Rule. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think back Chris Rock when he criticized Lorne Michaels at SNL. He said, look, y'all got to go look for talent outside of Second City.
Exactly.
Or the people who you hang out with.
Exactly.
And that is the thing that. It is the lack of access. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Not that we can't do it, mm-mm. but you do not have the access. And when they are hiring the same folk, mm-hmm. those folk are gonna hire the same folk. They're gonna lock down these 6 and 7 figure jobs, mm-hmm. and then we're sitting here going, well, what happened to us? Mm-hmm. Hell, mm-hmm. you don't get the call.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago who was on the board of a publicly traded company, and said, if I'm not the one who asks these questions about diversity, no one is going to be asking those questions about diversity. So those of us that are on boards, you look around at the senior management team at the company whose board you serve on, ask the question, because clearly no one else has.
No one. Right. And the thing, and see what I've been saying, and I've made it clear to some black people who sit on boards. Mm-hmm. If y'all don't say anything, mm-hmm. I'm gonna call y'all publicly.
Good.
Because the deal is, the fight that many people, whether it was Reverend Jesse Jackson, whether mm-hmm. it was Earl Graves, mm-hmm. whether it was others, the fight wasn't for you to get on the board, right. and for you to be personally enriched, and for you to be hooked up. Exactly. The point was for you to get on the board to open the door.
Precisely.
For everybody else. That was the whole point. And I'm sitting here going, how can you be black? I've communicated with some black board members. I'm mm-hmm. like, hold up, you got to ask. Mm-hmm. How much we're doing in contracting?
Yeah.
Show me the list.
Right.
And I went down all, because they thought I was just talking about advertising. I said, no. I said, all these different contracts are going, are they going to black people? I'm like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, I said, they can't tell you no.
Exactly, you're a board member.
Right.
If we don't do it, it's not going to be done. It's not going to be done.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I got on the board and they stupidly made me head of the, well, I say stupidly, but not really, asked me to chair the Nom and Gov committee. I said, okay. We got 2 new black board members.
Right, which we can have more than one. That's the other thing.
Because I'm not here to just be the fly in the buttermilk, right? I said, if you're bringing me on because you want to check a box, then bring somebody else on. If you're bringing me on because you actually care about diversity and inclusion and want me to help you, then we've got a deal. But I am going to do this. Understand? I'm going to do this. And so, so far so good. But it scares me a little bit when I think about the number of places that we don't have an ability to make a difference, and then the opportunities that we ignore because we're so thrilled that we're in the room, right?
Yeah.
But my view has always been, let me in the room, then.
Well, was that James Brown saying? See, James Brown's song, "Don't Hand Me Nothing," just open the door, I'll get it myself. And see, and that's it. Bob Johnson had he said, you got to be in the deal flow. He said, bottom line is, if you're not in the room, you're not in the deal flow. You're not aware of the conversation. You're not aware of, and not even at the board meeting, it's the conversations when you're traveling there, when you're eating, and then,
at the dinners.
Hey folks, I want to bring you in on this deal or this deal.
Right.
And that's where it operates, because, the frustration when we talk about, when you said, 95% of my bosses are black. When we think about black-owned business, and frankly, I'm going to call this a black-owned business.
It is. 95%
of black-owned businesses in America, $5 million in revenue or less. Pre-COVID, we had 2.6 million black-owned businesses. 2.5 million had one employee. Doing an average revenue of $54,000.
Wow.
So when we talk about our ability to create jobs and create wealth, we're talking about literally 95% of all of our black-owned businesses really not been sole proprietors. And I'll hear sisters say, "Oh, black women are starting business at a fast rate." I said, I said, y'all, no disrespect to any of them, it's not a business if it's just one person.
And talk about small business. Wow.
Right.
No, it's not.
You're just paying yourself.
Right.
And then what happened when COVID hit? People are like, well, 41% black businesses lost. I'm like, yeah, because you got to go back to that other number. So we couldn't apply for PPP loans because that required you to have full-time employees.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah, you couldn't even with me, I had, at that point, I think I had 11, but only 5 were full-time. I had others who were contractors who worked every day. Apply for that. Employees. The PPP loans did not apply to contractors. So we could have submitted a $260,000, $280,000 request, only submitted $38,000. So again, how the rules are set up.
Right.
So if we don't have, that's why for me the biggest thing is capacity. Capacity. How has that been for you also in working as executive director, getting even your players to understand capacity. That this is not just about even just the years that you're playing.
I'm going to tell you, one of the things that I confess surprised me when I first got the job. And I knew they had to be smart. I mean, you can't just be talented and be able to survive and have a career in the NBA. So I knew they were smart. I didn't realize how business savvy many of them were, and many of them are. Because if no other reason, they get it. The average tenure here is 3 years. Not everybody plays 20 years, and these guys know that. And so there's a certain urgency about expanding their ability to generate revenue beyond the time that they're going to be actually bouncing the ball. And so they kind of get it. I mean, they're now, who would have thought that athletes would be talking about creating a fund where they could both individually and collectively invest some of the money they have now for tomorrow. I mean, they understand generational wealth and what that could mean in ways that I didn't appreciate, and I suspect most people don't appreciate about them. So, when we talk about ways to deal with your individual brand and market your individual brand, we have the players' attention. When we talk about opportunities, because we operate a business. The NBPA has a revenue generating arm, Think 450, and we talk about investing in companies and securing equitable shares. We have their attention. They understand that. And they also understand something which I guess I knew, and that is that they are the largest group of black millionaires on the planet. They get that. And so obviously they want to make sure that their individual contracts are as big as possible, but they also are incredibly interested, and we get their attention when we talk about how can we collectively figure out a way to make you even more wealthy and create something for your families beyond when you're going to be on Earth. This is an enormously savvy group of young men, and they understand that this is, again, a sport, but it's a business. And I'm impressed every day when I think, they're spending too much time thinking about the damn ball. No, they're not. They're thinking about tomorrow in ways that many young people don't.
And the thing that for me I think is important, because it's very interesting when you study fans, because your fans are very emotional about their city and their teams. But what this culture has created, players have turned out to be villains oftentimes.
It's true.
When they decide to hold out, demand a new contract, demand to be traded. And we look at these owners as these pillars of the community who we love and adore, and folk, well, they turn to the players. We pay your salary. And I'll tell them, I'm going, but y'all ain't saying nothing to the billionaire sitting over there.
Not a word.
But you mad at these guys right here, and the point you just made, look, it's finite. What did Chris Rock say? He said, no, Shaq ain't rich. The dude who paying Shaq, he rich.
Incredible.
And when we dropped it. And that's the thing. And it's always a trip to me when I hear fans who never want to deal with the business of the business. And I always say, you ain't playing.
That's true.
You not rehabbing when you get injured.
Exactly. If people knew, I mean, it's not the owners of these teams are not here simply because they like basketball. These teams make a lot of money, a ton of money, and because of this cap system, they can't spend as much money as they make on players because of this notion of, well, some markets are going to be disadvantaged. When we talk about LeBron's money, if you don't know about LeBron's money, look at Jenny Buss's money. That's money. I mean, and that's talk about generational wealth. She was rich before she was born, right? So it is. I think for number one, they don't know who the owners are, and the owners are smart and not trying to be publicly known. I mean, Mark Cuban is the exception, but most of these guys love to be anonymous because they don't want the ire. I mean, when they do find out, when fans do find out what they do and find out some of the business that they're in, then they get some negative attention. But because they know who the players are, there's a familiarity that they believe that they have, and the right to criticize that they don't even consider.
Ain't nobody wearing the jersey of an owner.
No.
But, and I'm take that back. You are wearing the jersey of an owner, but ain't no owner's name on the back of that jersey.
Not on the back of it, but I tell you, he's getting paid a lot of money because of that jersey.
Right.
I don't know that we'll ever really resolve that, except to remind the community that as wealthy as these guys are, you know that whoever's writing that check is not going broke because he wrote that check.
To think that Roger Goodell makes
Good Lord.
Roger Goodell makes more per year than any single player.
It is. He make more than some teams. I mean, he is. Let's say well compensated. I don't know what Adam makes, but these commissioners are not hungry. They're not hungry.
Again, it's a business, and that is the thing that I don't care what the industry is. I often, when I'm talking to people, I say, y'all, you better understand the business of your business, because it's not about. For me, it's not about, people like, oh my God, that really looked great. I'm like, yeah, but you better understand how much that tripod, that camera, that slider, how much that costs, how much the staffing costs. I said that's the business of the business.
That's exactly.
And if you fall in love with just the craft, I remember, I would probably say a generation ago, you would hear players always talk about, look, I just want to play ball. Okay. That's fine, but as you said, it's finite. What you gonna do when you retire at 32, 34?
Right.
And that's another 30, 40, 50 years of life.
And every day they're one injury away from being done. I mean, football's worse because it's the level of physical contact, but these guys know. I mean, there are players that had a great 2 to 3 years, and then just before they're about to sign that big contract, they got hurt.
Brother, my goodness, was one of the best. Brandon Roy, Portland. Knees
Gone.
Shot.
That's it. You're done. I mean, one of the things that football always says that they envy about basketball is that our contracts are guaranteed, and and they're right. But they're guaranteed up until they expire, and when they expire, that's it. That's it. It's incredible to think. I mean, I'm going to retire, but I'm 65. It's incredible for me to think every day that someone that's 40 years old is like deemed, an old man that's still able to play. And he's the lucky one, because a lot of these guys that we would call them vets, they're 30.
Yeah.
They're 30 years old.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think back. I look at how long Kevin Willis played. I think how long Moses Malone played. There are very few guys who are playing past 35. But to think you're 31 and your career is over is crazy.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But it's the reality for these guys. I mean, every year I've had to learn who the rookies are. But sad, and I do. I spend a lot of time so that when I meet them, I know all about them. But as it turns out, half of them I never see after the first year because they just don't make it. And we bring in 60 bodies every year, and 40 of them, if they're lucky, they're still here year 2. Many of them end up in the G League or end up going overseas, and they're not making any money there. And those that survive here, you got to make it to that second contract to get paid. It is a transient business, and if these guys didn't appreciate the fact that they could be one and done at any moment, then they'd be foolish. I tell them, if you just try to survive at least 3 years, because there's some things that you can get. One of the things you can get is you can get health insurance for life because this union pays for that. But you got to put in 3 years. Well, a lot of guys just don't. They can't do it. Not 3 years overseas.
Right.
3 years with an NBA
3 years
contract.
with an NBA contract.
It's scary to me that many of these men are going to be in terrible shape 10, 15 years from now, because they won't be able to play any longer, and they won't have been able to have a successful career in the NBA. And this is it. So you got to have a fallback. I was meeting with a team, I think it was a Monday, where 4 of them have started a business with these NFTs. I could not be more pleased. They're not marquee guys,
right?
But they saw the NFT thing, and they ended up getting a business plan. They've got some funding, and they're preparing for life after basketball.
There you go.
And we need to encourage a lot more of that, because there's going to be life after basketball. I tell all of them, I don't care if you play 2 years or 20 years. At some point, you will be a former basketball player. What you going to do then? How you going to eat?
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
How did you get here? Because it's not like, okay, there's a curriculum to say, I want to run a players union.
No, there was no curriculum, and there was no plan. I mean, I was happily trying cases in my life before. I was a trial lawyer representing, frankly, Fortune 100 companies in class action litigation, doing a lot of commercial stuff, long trials. And literally by coincidence, I had a case that settled that I thought was going to be in trial for about a month and a half. And when that happens, you suddenly have a lot of free time. And I had time to read a newspaper, right? And I read about my predecessor being fired. And to be honest with you, Roland, I wasn't even aware that there was a Players Association. I mean, I didn't know they were unionized. I had no idea. I said, oh, they got a union? That's cool. I didn't know anything about this union. The only union work I did, I represented union officials who were indicted. So I had no labor law experience to speak of. So I'm reading about this, and I always loved basketball. I never played, but I always loved basketball. And so when I read about it, I said, that's a cool job, man, wow. And I knew the guy that had the job was a lawyer, and I said, wow, that's an interesting thing. And I just knew they'd find someone within, a couple of weeks, months, whatever, to replace him. Put it away, didn't think about it. And maybe 4 or 5 months later, read again that they were still looking. And I said, what? They couldn't find. Well, I said, what's up with that? And only because of the internet did I have the ability to take a look and just look under the hood. And I said, that's a really cool job. I can play with players. And I began to understand the business a little bit more. And the more I looked at it, the more I said, Michele, you can do this. And then I said, nobody can do this better than you. Hell. And then when I found out the players interviewed you, that's all I needed, right? I said, okay, good. So I'm going to be interviewed by Steph Curry, Chris Paul. I couldn't wait.
And of course, work as a public defender, you were used to working with brothers.
Oh, and absolutely. And it was, and to be honest with you, it was a way to return to working with brothers, because after being a public defender, I went into different areas of the law. And by the time, before I got to this job, I was representing, again, Fortune 100 companies. There weren't a whole lot of people that looked like me. They were my clients.
Not Fortune 500.
No, 100.
100.
The ones that were really being sued.
400, I ain't even talking. Yes.
I was at Skadden, a large law firm, and you had to be Fortune 100 to be able to pay our fees. So it was a way to get back to working for individuals again, and then black people. And the minute I started the interview process, I said, I got to have this job. This job is mine.
How long was it? How long was that? So first of all, how did you just like, hey, I want to apply for this job?
Well, I did. No, I found out that they had a search firm,
Right.
So I contacted the search firm and said I'm just curious. And the guy that was running the search, coincidentally, that's what he said at least, was going to be in D.C. I lived in D.C. at the time. Was going to be in D.C. visiting his parents, and said, "Do you have time for a cup of coffee?" I said, "Sure." So I had coffee with him, and at that time I was telling him, "Well, I'm just curious." And he had done some due diligence on me, and he said, "Look, if you're really serious about this, you need to make up your mind, because we're down to the last couple of candidates. I'm going to present to the executive committee." I said, "Well, I'll let you know." He said, "Well, let me know by X, like Friday." And I was like, "Who are you talking to? Let you know by?" So I said to him, I said, "Look, I got a pretty nice gig, so if I do this, it's going to be something I'm going to do, but I can't be rushed." He said, "Well, I'm just telling you that if you want to do it."
You're like, "You call me."
right? But my arrogance was such, I said, I don't need this crap. I'm not going to make a decision like that on his turn. But I said, "Michele, you really want to do this?" And so I did it. I interviewed with the executive committee, the players. It was unbelievable. I'd never had a one-on-one with professional basketball players before, and I was completely blown away by their intelligence. Just completely blown away. And they were ready. I mean, they interviewed me like they were interviewing me. And either they done the homework or someone did it for them, and they read it, but they knew my book. And I guess the process took about 5 or 6 months, because I had to present to the players. I mean, we ended up presenting. There were 2 of us. Ended up presenting, and
So you met with the executive committee.
Right.
When you say present to the players,
right.
all the players.
Right. The board of player reps. I mean, there were probably, I think the first time I presented, there may have been about 120 players there. This huge ballroom, and
It's not a normal interview.
no, it was not. But I thought, I was a trial lawyer, so I just said this is just a very large jury.
Right,
Michele.
there you go.
Right. And then they weren't able to vote that night because it's long and complicated. But there was a group of agents that had a candidate that they wanted to have put before the players, and they found out at the last minute that candidate had not made the cut. So they cried foul, and all hell broke loose. And at that point, none of my clients knew I was doing this, and so it hit the papers. My clients found out, so I pulled out. I said, "Look, I don't need this." And then my clients were like, "Michele, this is great," because they're all men, right? So they all thought that was the greatest job in the world, all these general counsel. And so I said, "Okay." And then a couple of the players called me and said, "Please stay in. We really we're going to get through this, but it's just." And so I made the cut again, and then presented again, and then they voted me in. It took about 6 months, though. It was. I'm not gonna lie. It was a blast. Because the players are just fantastic men. They're great men. I'll miss them.
I mean, it was funny when you said, "All right, this is like a jury."
It really was. Like, I'm gonna pat myself a little bit on the back. I had a bit of a following in D.C., so it would many times be standing room only to come into my courtrooms and watch me work. So I was used to it.
Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, then you get in. But what was a learning curve for you? Because again, first of all, you said, "Look, I just read it in the paper." Right. And all of a sudden, you come in and you're representing all these players. Right. And yes, you work with Fortune 100 companies, but this had to be totally different terrain.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I thought I knew, if I had known how little I knew about the business, I probably would have not have done it, which is too bad because I think I've done it well. But it took more than a minute. And there were several things that were going on. I mean, they voted me in, but there was still a lot of bad blood because of what happened with my predecessor. Mm-hmm. So I and the team that I ultimately hired had to spend a lot of time, just gaining the trust and credibility of the players. But on top of that, I mean, you can read about the league and their org structure and the history of collective bargaining all day long, but until you're in those rooms with these men, principally men, you don't know what you don't know. The good news is, I've got it's not gotten me in trouble yet, but I've got an arrogance about my ability to manage, right? That I'm not intimidated by it. I mean, I just work harder, right? And so I don't think there are things that I've learned yesterday about this business, even though I've been doing it for over 7 years. And if I stayed, I'm sure I'd learn more. But like anything, you work hard enough, you can figure it out. And if you don't allow the kind of nonsense that is normally put in front of us to get in the way of your confidence, then you can do it. And then I got to say, I've had the support of the players in ways that I think I've earned, but without their support, it would not work. I mean, the league understands that I always tell the league, I take orders from the players, and I do, but I'm a trusted advisor. And when the issue comes up, when they ask Michele, what do you think? They really care what I think.
Right.
The league now has learned, they didn't know because they didn't know me and I was new, that what Michele thinks is probably going to end up ruining the day. So we need to respect her and get her on our side, and if we don't, then we know we're not going to prevail. I mean, I've had them try to go behind my back and talk to players. That never works. It's amusing because the players always call me and say, so and so called me. And I said, yeah, I thought he might. So it's not easy, but nothing worth it is. I mean, I've never had any job that I thought was easy. When I thought it was easy, I left. What's the point?
But this is even more different because you have this thing called the NBA,
mm-hmm.
but without the players, there is no NBA.
There's no league.
So you're talking about partners, but unlike another business, it's really two separate businesses. Or if you want to use all the teams of individual businesses,
mm-hmm.
it's like no, you've got the players, then there's the league,
mm-hmm.
and without the players, ain't no league, and without the league, player got nowhere to play.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to; these forces have to merge, and y'all got to come to an agreement in terms of how we're gonna move forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole lot of dancing and quite delicate dancing that you have to do.
It is, and the leverage. You're right. The leverage that the players have is that we cannot be replaced. These are the best basketball players on the planet. If the league can't say, okay, you're all fired, we're going to get some more. Who's watching that, right?
Right.
Right. No one's going to do that. The leverage that the league has traditionally had is the money.
Power.
Right, because when they lock the players out, they stop the checks. Right. You can't get paid if you're not playing, and that's the deal. So the dance, if you will, is to make it not worth their while to lock us out, right? This game makes so much money. When I negotiated the CBA in 2016, the game was, they just negotiated this big TV deal, and everybody was popping champagne. I'll give it to the league. They won. That's a good damn deal. And I said, no one's making any money if you try locking these men out. So, and it was clear that we needed to get an increase in compensation for the players and some other things we wanted. And I said to Adam, I don't mind a fight. That's what I do. So, if y'all want to lose all this money,
y'all want to swing?
Right, let's do that. I mean, that's unacceptable. And I said, there's some things you can say are unacceptable, and I think I can probably believe it. But when I say that there's something unacceptable, you should also believe it and figure it out, right? I said, because at the end of the day, I know my guys aren't going to make any money if you lock us out, but you know what else? You're not either. And that's a lot of money. It's
right.
So much money. And as long as the money is being made, then we are able to act like partners. What's going to be a challenge in this next CBA is that that COVID has hit players and the teams.
Right.
And there will be some effort to figure out a way to
claw it back.
And I mean, as happy as I am to be retired, I kind of regret that I'm not going to be able to negotiate the next CBA because it's going to be a fight. Having said that, I'm watching these numbers. COVID notwithstanding, profits are returning. And my view, you don't want to stop this gravy train. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it moving.
As you were talking about the money, power, leverage. I use an example all the time. I remember when when I'm talking about, I love when people talk about, oh man, this player is the most powerful player. And I was going, no, this player may have the most leverage and influence. And I use the example of Michael Jordan. Jordan was executive with the Washington Wizards. Goes back to play. He like, okay, I'm coming back to my man. I'm coming back to my job. Abe Pollan was like, nah, we good. Here's a $10 million check. Jordan gets pissed off, all upset, leaves the $10 million on the table, walks out. And I tell people, I say, y'all, that was the difference between leverage and power.
Right.
When Michael was playing, Michael had leverage because he could put butts in the seat.
Right.
He could sell corporate sponsorships. He can sell suites. I said that was leverage. I said, but the person who owns is the person with the power.
That's the truth. I remember I was in D.C. at the time. I couldn't believe it. When Jordan came to D.C., I mean, everybody was making money. Every game was sold out.
The team that never made a profit.
Right. Every game
until he started playing.
Until he started playing. Every game was sold out. I was a season ticket holder. I had people bidding for my season tickets, right? But I didn't want to let go. I don't want to let them go. But I could have tripled, quadrupled the amount of money I got. And the restaurants were booming. It was unbelievable. I had never seen anyone move a city the way Michael Jordan did. But if you're right, at the end of the day, and he came back because he was, the truth be told, he's supposed to get a piece of the Wizards, and Poland just crapped on him. Poland sent him back and said, nope, I don't want you to have part of my team. I'm keeping my team. And I said, he did that to Michael Jordan? That's power.
Right.
That's power.
And that's the thing that when I'm talking to folks, I say, guys, never confuse the two. You can be at the height of your athletic prowess. I said, but you're still working for somebody else.
Exactly right. That's true. But you're right about the leverage. It's as yesterday I was reading. Our ratings are traditionally not very good this time of year, at the beginning of the season, and they were terrible last year. Well, but they went up this year, and the reason they went up is because Steph is back. He's playing again.
And the Warriors are winning again.
And we have our ratings, and they went down. He got injured last year.
He got injured. Clay got injured.
Right.
They didn't make the playoffs.
They didn't. Our ratings are like incredible.
Yeah, your ratings are driven by you want to see the best players. If they're not playing, they're simply not playing. NFL learned that when they had the replacement players, and people were like, "Who the hell are these imposters?"
And that'll never happen in basketball, and they know it because of the lesson of NFL. I mean, the ratings for West Coast teams went up when LeBron moved to the West Coast, and the ratings for East Coast teams went down because he moved to LA. They have incredible leverage, and that's the point. They need to figure out how to have power. And one of the things Michael is now powerful because he owns Charlotte Hornets.
Right.
Now it's a mid-market team, but
he's an owner.
He's an owner.
Yes, he's a former player.
Right, but he is an owner.
But he's an owner.
It makes all the difference.
I mean, you can be a former player and you still ride with players.
Right.
He's an owner.
Right. Gotta get more black people owning these teams. I mean, I'm not mad at Bob Johnson because it ended up with another black man, but when he sold the Hornets, I was pissed because I said, come on, man, there's only one. But then Michael got it, so it worked out well.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
The as you were talking about it, we talked about leveraging that power. And you talking about, oh look, they gotta have the players. It's one of my favorite movies, primarily because Steven Soderbergh shot the entire movie with an iPhone. But also I love the concept behind it and me sort of being a renegade, a disruptor, someone who, not
that would be you.
That's me. I love High Flying Bird. Have you seen High Flying Bird? Are you serious?
I've never even heard of it.
Oh my God, I cannot. Okay.
Is it a basketball movie?
Yes.
You're kidding me.
Oh, this is crazy. Okay. Andre Holland is an agent.
Right.
And they're talking about an NBA lockout.
I did see that.
Sonia Son is playing the role that you had.
Right. I did
the Players
see that.
Union.
Right. I did see that.
First,
Right.
again, I watched the movie because as a content person, Soderbergh shot the entire movie with two iPhone 7s.
That's amazing.
This is before the iPhone 11, 12.
Yeah.
Bill Duke, so the classic line, they invented a game on top of a game. But the reason I love that, because the whole thesis of how he brokered a new deal by leveraging the players, saying, you now know in social media, they can literally create. It was these 303 games. They've already sold 20,000 tickets or whatever the heck, and completely word of mouth, whatever. So just again, from how I think about from a business standpoint, when people come up to me and they're like, well, so what, you launch your own show and you just launch your own network, and I'm going, yeah, because I'm leveraging my 3.5 million social media following and now developing these other things, and then pushing advertisers a certain way, saying, now, do you want me to call you out? We can do that.
Right.
Or we can do business. And I love that. I love it because, again, what it is, what he was saying to players, what he was saying to play in that movie was that you are, in essence, individual corporations. Yes, you are an employer of the team and the league, but you are individual corporations. And if you think of yourselves in that way, it completely transforms your thinking.
Right.
And that's power.
Right.
So yes, LeBron works for a team, has leverage, but because he's built these other companies, he's now taking his leverage to create power, send his boys to school, make sure y'all get trained. Now they've created, and so that to me is that's capacity, that's building capacity, that's building power.
Yeah, I tell the players all the time, you are the CEO of your brand, of your own company, and you need to figure out a way to grow your revenue, and you can't. No company wants to rely on one source of revenue.
There you go.
All right.
Multiple streams of revenue.
There you go. And I think that they're appreciating that. There's always been a threat. I'm told. I was never in a lockout, but I'm told there was always a threat during a lockout that the players would form their own league. One of the things, and maybe that'll happen one day. Hopefully, there will never be another lockout, so they won't have to do that. But when players talk to me about, like, one day I want to own a team, I absolutely encourage it. But I also say, you can start now by getting an AAU team, and they have a whole AAU market that is not people, they're either very good or not so great. But that's how you can start, at that level.
You may have used this, but so you take hotels. So I've spoken different groups, and I spoke to one group, and they trying to get more black people in the hotel industry. And what's crazy is most of the brothers and sisters who want to buy a hotel, they're sort of thinking, let's say, the hotel equivalent of an NBA team. That is that large hotel that's in downtown Chicago, downtown Houston, downtown, all the different places, when those are not the most profitable hotels. So I'm sitting there speaking to them, and they're like, no. They said, the most profitable hotels is that hotel that's on the highway that's going to have 85% occupancy.
Right.
No room service, no dorming. It went through this whole deal.
That makes so much sense.
And they were walking me through it, and they were trying to get African Americans to become franchisees. And they kept saying, but most African Americans were thinking the large, we could have our black conventions. And they were like, they said those have such a low profit margin. And it's literally what you were just saying. No. I hear you on that one, but that small little team there is equivalent. That small hotel that's actually a bigger profit generator, and you can build from there. Exactly. It was fascinating talking to them about hotels.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. That makes sense. No, it's true. I mean, I was talking to the commissioner of SAIC about how few former players even consider who want to coach will go to a high school before they'll consider coaching at an HBCU, which makes no sense to me. And so one of the things that we did was we started this thing called, we had a top 100 program where we have high school students from all over the country, mostly the elite kids that come to our camp in the summer. And the attraction is that we have some of our players are coaches. So we did a top 50 for HBCUs. And we had to stop because of COVID, but we're going to resume it on this coming summer. But as we were talking about the program, there were literally players that said, well, some of the veterans we were talking to, and they said, did they hire coaches at these colleges? I said, what the fuck is, what do you mean? Of course they do. So we've gotten like 6 guys in the last 2 years to
Kenny Anderson's at Fisk.
Exactly.
Reggie Theus just took over as athletic director. Head coach at Bethune-Cookman.
There you go. And so to understand, because they'll let you play, these Division I schools let you play for them, but they won't hire you when you want to get a job in the coaching facility.
Reggie Theus went to UNLV and because I play in different golf tournaments. Every time they had the opening in UNLV, couldn't get it. So what you're talking about, no, these are opportunities.
Absolutely.
Max, hit the opportunity.
Absolutely. It's amazing to me. So, I get it. You want to own the Golden State. Well, Golden State ain't going to be for sale for a minute. So, so figure out a way that you can get in the business of team ownership.
A finite number of teams.
Right, only 30. They're probably going to be 31 in a minute. It's going to be Vegas, I tell you. But and then of course getting an ability to buy into a team is a mystery to me. I mean, the league decides who's going to be an owner and who's not going to be an owner. The one thing my swan song is because right now a current player cannot own a team, right? It's only a former player can because of these notions of there being a conflict. But there's no reason that the NBPA, the union, can't have some ownership interest in a team. There's no conflict if we have it in every single team. Now, the one thing that Adam did because of COVID, and presumably because teams were losing money, was agreed that venture money could come into teams. So every team can sell up to a 20% stake to a venture fund, and they've been doing it. This is presumably to raise capital.
Right.
Well, if you're going to let venture in, then let me in.
Right.
Let me in. I mean, if I get some money, and I can get some money, and it may be just a little sliver of equity, But
equity is equity.
But equity is equity, and because it drives me nuts when you hear about these teams selling for billions of dollars, and then not a nickel goes to a player, when it's only the players that have created the value.
Right.
It makes me ill. So one of the things that I would like to at least get them talking about is you don't have to give it to me. You should give it to me, but you won't. Then that's fine. But let me buy a piece.
Right.
Let me buy a piece of every team. It may be literally maybe 1% of 1%, but I want to make sure that anytime a team is sold, that some of that money goes back into the players' coffers. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. Ownership is ownership.
Oh, look, I tell people all the time, and the thing is, it's understanding and not getting caught up in the hype of we were talking about beforehand. When I'm having these conversations with people, I had brothers and sisters come, man, but I wish you were on CNN, I wish you were on MSNBC, and I wish you were, and I was like, yeah, but they get checks. I write checks.
And that's the difference. That's the difference.
But also, I control the narrative.
Exactly.
I'm not asking permission. And it's so hard for a lot of folks because they're like, and I mean, I had this major entertainer say, yeah, but man, we need more people to hear your voice. I said, bro, I'm good.
I think part of it is that we've never done it. I mean, once you've been in control, it's really hard not to stay in control.
Or we've talked to, or we haven't talked to enough people who have
Who've had it, yeah.
Then understand how it goes. Yeah. And that's the thing, and I think that's the, my first job, my first paid media job, working for a black newspaper.
See?
For Houston Defender. So Southern Messiah Giles owned the paper. So I saw her saying, yes, that's running. No, that's not.
That's true.
I saw it.
Right.
So I saw she owned it.
Yeah.
My grandmother owned a catering business. I worked with her since I was 7 years old. So see, owning it. And that's the thing that it's just a different, and once people get out of the hype of, yes, white validation, and you go, no, owning is owning.
It really is.
Like, if I decide to go to Hawaii for 3 weeks, I can go. And we'll be fine.
Exactly.
But it is, but I think for a lot of people, it's still but how many are going to know, and how many will see it? And once you get beyond that, you're like, no. And other people, no, I'm good. They think I'm like, oh man, but I see you, man. You were working and you were setting the tripod up. I'm like, yeah, because I know how to set it up. I had one dude told me. He said, man, you ain't gonna bother to do that. I said, why am I gonna pay somebody to carry the tripod when I can carry the tripod? He was like,
I bet he was serious too. No, I know. I've seen that mentality so many times. It's sad. It really is sad. I saw one of my players came in here this was a couple of years ago, and he had like 6 people with him. And I said, well, you're traveling kind of deep, aren't you? He said, well, this is my team. So he had this one woman there. I said, what does she do? He said, well, she's here if I need a massage. And I wasn't trying to get in his personal business.
Right.
I said, how often do you get a massage? Every day? He said, nah, not that often. I said, so why? Were you just paying her just to be here? Yeah, just in case I need a massage. I said, sweetheart, you don't make that kind of money. You just don't make that kind of money. That is ridiculous. You're gonna pay this woman, and I'm sure she's happy to do it. You're gonna pay someone just in case you want a massage, and she travels with you everywhere you go? I'd rather you say you're sleeping with her, right? Than say that you're just paying her just in case I need a massage. So you don't make that kind of money. Don't be a fool. Don't be an idiot. And I tell them all the time, look, you can do anything you want to with your money, but ask yourself if this is something that you really need. If you don't need it, why would you do that?
Look, we might have a shoot, and I'm going, how many people do we need? What they doing?
Right. It's true.
Half day, full day. I'm not about to sit here and pay. In fact, flying here, it was so funny. flying here. One of my guys, we were a shoot in Georgia. One of my guys said, hey, we need y'all to bring the bag with all the other cables. So Antoine and I go to the airport. He was like, damn. He said, man, that's gonna cost. That bag is I think about 85 pounds. And so my driver dropped us off, and we had a bunch of our gear in the Sprinter. I was like, no, we good. He's like, what? I said, well, first of all, I'm 1K on United. So I get 3 bags up to 70 pounds.
There you go.
I got one. That's going to be the second one. It was overweight. I said, I took some stuff out of a duffel bag that was in the Sprinter. Because he driving it back to D.C. Took it out. I said, we can put about 30 pounds worth of stuff in this duffel bag. I said, all 3 bags fly free. Now, I could have easily said, man, look, I'm going to go ahead and pay that $50, $75. Hell no.
Why?
Take that. I ain't got no problem. We were leaving the shoot last night. We knew we were going to shoot all day. I bought, so Simba guy at the store, he came back. Turkey meat, bread, chips. We had drink and everything like that. So we leave. We finished late. We worked about 14 hours. So I was like, look, we leaving here by 9. We packing up by 9:30. I was like, all right. I know something is small. This small thing doesn't open. I was like, because it's a bathroom, refrigerator, and microwave in the Sprinter.
Wow.
I said, hold up. Before we leave, I'll fix my sandwich and everything. I was like, look, y'all can stop anywhere y'all want to get something to eat. I'm good. I already ate. Man, by the time we drove to Jacksonville, stuff was closed because of COVID and everything. Antoine was like, damn, I guess I'm going to get hungry. I said, man, I tried to tell y'all fix that sandwich. I had no problem.
There you go.
Going back there, fixing my sandwich. I'm good. Sat down, ate. I went to bed full. But again, that's a different mindset.
It's
some folk don't have.
That's incredible.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
What you want to do next?
Not much. I really don't. I believe in retirement. I really do. I believe in. I think I said years ago. I said, I spent so much time working.
Right.
And I loved everything I've done. And when I didn't, I stopped doing. I did something else. But I did say that if God was good enough to keep me healthy at 65, then I'm going to do whatever I want. And that probably means that no one's going to pay me for that. Right, because I want to do whatever I want,
right,
when I want to do it, how
right,
I want to do it, and maybe not do anything. That's what I think retirement is.
Right.
So I'll be on a couple of boards just to keep my mind right. But I really do have a list of things I want to do. I want to. If COVID lets me, I want to go do some traveling. I've gone a lot of places, but I've always been working.
Right. You travel a lot, but now no. I'm gonna do some other kind of traveling.
Exactly. The friends I've had that retired at 65 have no regrets. The friends I had that are still working, they claim that I think I'd die if I stopped working. Okay, well, I don't think I'm going to die. I think I'm going to live a little better. So no, I never wanted to die behind a desk. Never. I don't mind if you want to do that. That's fine. But I really do have a bucket list. I'm going to start checking some of that stuff off.
Well, last question for you. What is the most important thing, the one thing that you pass on or have said to your successor?
What I've said to her, and it turns out my successor is a black woman, and I'm really proud of that. And what I've said to my staff is, no matter the challenges that this job will bring, and it will, as long as you keep in mind that it's players first, and that's your mantra, that's your guiding post, the guiding light, then you will be fine. The minute you allow, and then you will be encouraged by the league, by the owners, by agents, to
corporations,
all that, to shortcut the player's interest, then you not only have you become a professional failure, but you fail the players. Even when I've had staff say, Michele, I think you need to give on that. My confidence never wavered because I knew this was in the best interest of the players. And so if you just keep that in mind and ask yourself, is this in the best interest of the players? If the answer is no, you're not doing that.
Right.
You're just not going to do it. And that's the way I've approached being a lawyer my entire professional life. What's in the best interest of my clients? And I'm singularly driven by that. So if you, it keeps you where you're supposed to be.
One final question. If they just hit me. 30 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, a young girl, young boy, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, don't matter. They're going to be going, used to be they're going to go through a book. But they're going to be Googling or looking up something, and they're going to come across Michele Roberts. Wow, that was a black woman? Was it head of the Players Union? What do you want that person to know about Michele Roberts?
That she's not special, but had the good fortune of having someone in her life that believed in her and told her, you got to believe in you too. And that was my mother. I mean, people used to say, Michele, you're really smart. I am smart, but I'm not special. I just never had someone not tell me when I was, being formulated as a young person that I was not good enough. I mean, my mother, I don't know where she got it from.
Right.
I have no idea. I mean, she didn't have a high school diploma. But she would not fathom the notion that I couldn't do whatever I wanted to do. I wanted to be a lawyer when I was 7. You know why? Because my mother said, you want to be a lawyer? Then you're going to be the best damn lawyer that ever was. And don't let anyone tell you that you can't be. And so there's nothing special about me. It's just that I was fortunate enough to have someone who believed in me and made me believe in me. So, because there's so many people out there that every day want to tell you that you're not supposed to be here.
Yep.
That's crap.
Well, I appreciate you sitting down with me. You've always been supportive. Everybody watching, y'all don't realize I might get a text from Michele, and this is text. You are crazy. You had me cracking up when you said sometimes you be watching the show with the sound down, but you don't want to bust out laughing in the middle of a meeting.
It's true. It is true. And then I tell you, Roland, I don't ever want to be on your bad side. Just call me up and say, Michele, I hate to have to do this to you. So I'll be sure I'll be out of the country. I never want to be on your bad side.
This is funny. It's a true story. I really like Isaiah Thomas.
Oh, that's my brother.
But Isaiah Thomas went on Jason Whitlock's show. And he said a few things. And I was like, Zeke, look. And I did. I was like, say, bro, I'm going to have to hit you. I said.
You gave him a heads up.
I said, look, and normally I don't give a heads up. I said, Zeke, a few things you said, I'm going to have to correct.
Good Lord. I know he was shaking.
He was like, and then Zeke, man, look, you know, he said, I remember I was one of your first Bring the Funk fan club members. I said, I appreciate that. I said, but
I'm gonna have to school you.
I'm gonna have to hit.
Well, do me a favor. If it comes to that, just let me know. Don't let me. Michele, you watch Rolling today? just let me know, brother. Let me know.
I've had a few folk like, damn, bro. I like, look, y'all. Look. Somebody got to say some stuff, and I have never been scared. I tell people, I grew up. I never spent the night at a non-family member's house. No, we had too many family. I mean,
that's
my mama, my maternal side. Yeah. My mama had 7 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
The 8 of them had 42 kids.
That's a family.
Those 42 kids, I think, 80 or 90 kids.
Yeah.
And then those kids have had more than like 150. So wasn't no room for friends. So I'm good. I ain't never had friends growing up because I had family members. So I still got a large family. So I tell everybody, I'm straight. So if I got to swing on somebody, I got a crew that's gonna always love me.
You don't need no friends. You got plenty of family.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Look, sometimes, but yeah, I sometimes had to make that phone call. Say, bro,
poor Isaiah.
Yeah. And I said, Zeke, I love you, but I got to correct a couple of things. Hopefully he should take my phone call back. I'm like, Zeke,
He's a good brother.
I was like, next time before you go, call me before you go on.
Jason, huh?
Now I give a few. Oh yeah, right there. Well, matter of fact, it was with LeBron when I interviewed Jason. He tried to accuse all of us. Yeah, y'all all for clickbait and everything. Then he talking because I went to LA interview him. Blah 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 blah. Then he goes, I said, well, why are you always talking about Cap and LeBron? Well, you know, the show is for ratings. I said, I'm sorry, hold up.
He talked about clickbait.
Didn't you just accuse everybody else of clickbait? Mm-hmm. But you just admit you talk about them for ratings. And there's this look. This was a look he gave. Mm-hmm. and I let it sit there. Nobody talked. Mm-hmm. Let it pause. Look on his face. And that look was, he just got my ass.
That's exactly what it was.
And the look on my face was, I just got you. I was done after that.
I'm gonna try to stay out of your crosshair.
Michele, I appreciate you. All good.
No,
I
appreciate you talking to me.
I appreciate it. Enjoyed it. Mm-hmm.